There is an open secret that has been whispered in the healing temples of ancient Egypt, coded in biblical parables, and rediscovered by modern psychology. It is a truth that, once understood, makes the idea of luck or fate vanish forever. The truth is this: you are not alone inside your own mind. You have lived your whole life believing you are a single entity, fighting against a hostile world with the sole aid of your logic and physical effort. But that struggle has left you exhausted, anxious, and limited. You feel tired because you have been trying to move mountains with a spoon. To understand the true power that resides in you, we must forget the old metaphors for a moment. Forget the garden. Forget the computer. Imagine instead the following scene. Within the depths of your being dwells a giant. This giant possesses incalculable strength. It is the energy that makes your heart beat without being told, the intelligence that turns a piece of bread into living tissue, the force that orchestrates the coincidences in your life. This giant can build palaces in a day or destroy empires in a night. But it has one fatal characteristic. It is blind. It does not judge. It has no sense of humor. It does not distinguish between good and bad. It does not know if what it builds will make you happy or kill you. It knows only one thing: to obey. And upon the shoulders of this blind giant travels a king. That king is you. It is your conscious mind, your intellect, your capacity to choose and to dream. The king has vision. It can see the future. It can imagine health. It can desire wealth. But the king has a tragic limitation. It is lame. By itself, the king does not have the brute force to move reality. Its logic cannot heal a cell. Its analysis cannot change matter. The drama of human existence is the story of this strange couple. The lame king, you, knows where he wants to go but cannot walk. The blind giant, your subconscious, can run at incredible speeds but does not know where to go. Why is your life chaos? Because the king, in his ignorance, has fallen asleep on the giant's shoulders. Or worse, the king is awake, but he is terrified, and he spends his days whispering stories of terror, fear, scarcity, and illness into the giant's ear. And the giant, in his blind and perfect loyalty, hears the king's fear, takes it as a royal command, and uses his infinite power to manifest exactly that: disaster. Your illness is not a punishment. It is the giant's obedience to a command of fear. Your poverty is not bad luck. It is the giant's fidelity to your belief in unworthiness. This audiobook is not a collection of theories. It is a command protocol. It is the lost manual that teaches the lame king how to wake up, how to take the reins, and how to speak the only language the giant understands. You will learn that it is not about willpower, but about serene authority. You will learn that the giant does not respond to your shouts, but to your feelings. Chapter 1. The Fire Mold Law, Thought vs. Emotion. You have reached this point because you are tired. You are tired of the broken promise. You are exhausted by mechanical repetition. You have read the books, underlined the phrases, stuck notes on your mirror, and mumbled affirmations of wealth, health, and love until your throat is dry and your mind is numb. You have been told over and over that thoughts are things, that what you believe you create. Yet you look around, observe the architecture of your current life, and see the same old cracks. The bank account still shows the same red numbers, the body still sends the same pain signals, and relationships continue to fall into the same abysses of silence and conflict. You feel like a fraud. Or worse, you begin to suspect that the law itself is a fraud. You start to believe that your inner giant is deaf, or perhaps has abandoned you. You wonder why others seem to manifest miracles with a snap of their fingers, while you push rocks uphill day after day without seeing the summit. Let me stop you there. I need you to hear this with every fiber of your being. There is nothing broken in you. Your inner giant, that immense subconscious consciousness that holds the pillars of your existence, functions with a mathematical and divine precision. It has not failed once since the day you were born. The problem is not the machinery. The problem is not the power of the engine. The problem, the reason you are still living in a reality you do not desire, is a fundamental engineering error in the way you are supplying the materials. The lame king, your conscious mind, your intellect, your logical ego, has been trying to build a castle using the wrong materials in the wrong state. To understand and correct this error, we must abandon the childish metaphors. Your mind is not a flower garden where you simply plant a seed and wait. That image is too passive for the brutal power you possess. Your mind is also not a computer where you write a code. That image is too cold. To master your reality, you must visualize your subconscious as what it truly is, a divine foundry. Imagine an industrial nave the size of a cathedral, hidden in the depths of your soul. In its center, furnaces of nuclear potency burn, capable of melting the very substance of time and space. There are infinite molds waiting to be filled. There are distribution channels ready to pour reality into solid forms. The blind giant is the master blacksmith of this place. He does not rest. He does not judge. He does not question the design. His sole function, his only sacred mission, is to take the raw material the king hands him, pour it into the molds of experience, and let it harden into the irrefutable facts of your life. Here resides the secret that has escaped you, the law of the fire mold. The giant cannot work with cold metal. 1. The anatomy of cold thought. Let's analyze what you have been doing so far. When you wake up in the morning and from pure logic or mental desperation you say, I am rich, I have money, I am prosperous, what are you actually doing at an energetic level? You are creating thought forms. Yes, thought has structure, but a purely intellectual thought, an idea born of reason and disconnected from visceral life, is a bar of frozen iron. It is rigid, it is hard, it is inflexible. The lame king on his surface throne takes these bars of cold iron, these empty phrases, these intellectual desires, and throws them to the blind giant in the foundry. He shouts, take this, build wealth, build health. The giant, faithful to his nature, catches the bar of cold metal. He approaches the molds of your realities, but he can do nothing. He tries to pour the metal, but it is solid. It does not flow. It cannot penetrate the intricate cracks of probability to create a coincidence. It cannot flow through the biological channels to regenerate tissue. The cold metal simply bounces off the mold and falls to the foundry floor with a dull, useless clang. This is the tragedy of your current practice. You have been bombarding your subconscious with cold scrap metal. You have accumulated mountains of intentions and affiliations on the floor of your deep mind, but none of them have been processed. They are there, piled up, inert, occupying space and creating frustration. The giant is ready. The furnaces are lit, but you insist on giving him material that cannot be molded. A thought without feeling is an inert object. It is a corpse of possibility, and life cannot be born from the dead. 2. The thermodynamics of creation. The law of the fire mold establishes an immutable physical principle in the mental universe. For an idea to manifest in matter, it must first change its state of aggregation. It must pass from solid, thought, to liquid, vibrant conviction. We must understand the thermodynamics of consciousness. In the physical world, for iron to take the shape of a sword or a beam, it must be subjected to extreme heat until it loses its rigidity and turns into an incandescent river. Only then, in that state of dangerous, brilliant fluidity, can it enter the mold and upon cooling become a hard, unbreakable reality. In the universe of the mind, only one thing is capable of generating that heat. Only one force is capable of melting the rigidity of intellectual thought and turning it into creative lava. The fire of emotion. Emotion is not a byproduct of your experience. It is not something that happens to you. In the science of manifestation, emotion is temperature. Feeling is the fusion agent. It is the kinetic energy that agitates the particles of thought until they break their logical bonds and become fluid, capable of mixing with the quantum field of infinite possibilities. The king has been failing because he has tried to be a cold architect in a world that requires heat. He has tried to build with ice in a kingdom that demands fire. 3. The proof of failure, the foundry of nightmares. Perhaps you are asking yourself, if this is true, if it is so difficult to manifest, why is my life full of things I don't want that seem to manifest effortlessly? This is the crucial question, and the answer confirms the law of the fire mold in a terrifying way. Observe your fears, observe your anxieties, observe your worst-case scenarios. When you worry about a possible illness, an economic crisis, or the abandonment of a loved one, how do you do it? Do you think about the disaster with logical coldness? Do you analyze the catastrophe with intellectual indifference? No, absolutely not. Your fear is a thought at red heat. When you enter a loop of worry, you are not simply thinking, you are feeling. You feel the knot in your stomach. You feel the heart accelerating. You feel the cold sweat on your hands. Your mind visualizes the disaster with high-definition clarity, and your body reacts as if it were already happening. You generate a brutal electrical and chemical charge. In that moment, without realizing it, you have become a master blacksmith of hell. You are taking the thought of disaster, immersing it in the high furnace of your terror, and heating it until it shines with a blinding white light. You have melted the thought. You have turned it into pure lava. And then, with astonishing efficiency, the lame king hands that bucket of boiling lava to the blind giant. The giant receives that liquid, hot, perfect material. He does not judge that it is poison. He does not care that it is pain. He only recognizes that it is in the perfect state for work. Liquid material received, says the giant, proceeding to immediate pouring. And he pours that lava of fear into the molds of your tomorrow. The liquid flows perfectly. It fills every corner of your reality. It solidifies quickly. And voila! The disaster manifests. The illness appears. The debt materializes. The fight occurs. It's not that you have bad luck. It's that you are incredibly competent at creating what you fear, because you give fire to fear, while you only give words to your desires. You have been operating your foundry backward. You have reserved your passion, your intensity, and your visceral heat for your nightmares, while offering lukewarm hope and frigid logic to your dreams. Cold metal accumulates as scrap. Hot lava turns into destiny. For the alchemy of transmutation, understanding this is the first step to reclaiming the throne. The king must realize that his authority does not reside in the words he says, but in the temperature he generates. A thought of perfect health, said meekly without conviction, is vapor. A thought of perfect health wrapped in the fire of anticipated gratitude, serene certainty, or vibrant enthusiasm is an order that the subconscious cannot ignore. You cannot fool the giant. He is blind to your images, but he is hypersensitive to your heat. He feels the thermal radiation of your truth. If you say, I am successful, but your body is cold with doubt, the giant perceives the cold and discards the material. If you say, thank you for this wealth, and your body radiates the heat of security and joy, the giant perceives the liquid metal and immediately gets to work. This is why Joseph Murphy insisted so much on faith and feeling, not as religious acts, but as mechanical requirements. Faith is the fuel of the furnace. Without faith, without the emotional certainty, the furnace goes out, and without a furnace, there is no foundry. We are facing a redefinition of your inner work. Your job is not to think, your job is to fuse. Your job is to become an alchemist, who knows how to take a bar of lead thought and heat it with the emotion of the spirit, until it turns into liquid gold, ready to be poured into the structure of reality. But how is this done deliberately? How do you light the fire for something that does not yet exist, without falling into fantasy or self-deception? How do you generate real heat when your current reality is cold and hard? Here is where most fail. They try to light the fire by rubbing 2 sticks of desperation and only get smoke. There is a precise protocol for raising the mental temperature without effort, without tension, and without anxiety. There is a way to access the furnace and ignite the blue flame, the most potent and silent fire of creation. Now you stand before the control panel of your divine foundry. You have a desire in your hand, a bar of cold metal called wealth or health, and you need to fuse it. You need the giant to accept it. Here is where the neophyte makes his final mistake. The lame king, in his desperation to feel something positive, tries to force the emotion. He tries to generate artificial euphoria. He looks in the mirror and shouts, jumps, tries to pump positive adrenaline, trying to convince himself that he is happy. This is an error. The subconscious is not foolish, it detects the forgery. Hysteria, manic euphoria, and nervous excitement are dirty fires. They generate a lot of smoke, but little constant heat. They are unstable. If you hand the giant a desire wrapped in hysteria, he detects the underlying vibration, desperation. And desperation is cold. The metal does not melt. It breaks. To fuse the thought and turn it into destiny, you do not need an uncontrolled forest fire. You need the blue flame. 1. The physics of the blue flame. In nature, red or orange fire is an incomplete combustion fire. It is dirty. It is erratic. But when fire reaches its maximum temperature and its perfect combustion, it turns blue. The blue flame is silent, it is stable. It is incredibly hot, it cuts steel like butter. In the metaphysics of the mind, the blue flame is the emotion of serene certainty. It is not the emotion of, I hope it happens. It is the emotion of, it has already happened. It is the difference between the excitement of buying a lottery ticket, red fire, hope mixed with fear, and the feeling of looking at your bank account and seeing that the money is already there, blue flame, accomplished fact. The giant obeys the blue flame instantly because it contains no resistance. How is this flame ignited? What is the fuel that produces this clean, perfect heat? There is only one emotion that burns pure blue: relief. 2. The alchemy of relief. Joseph Murphy and the great masters of the law knew this. Relief is the chemical signature of manifestation. Think about it. What do you feel when a serious problem is solved? What do you feel when you are cured of a toothache? What do you feel when you pay the last installment of a debt? You don't run into the street shouting. You don't start dancing frantically. What you do is release the air, your shoulders drop, your stomach unclenches. You exhale a long, deep ah. You feel a profound peace, a quiet gratitude, a sensation that the world has returned to its axis. That is relief. Relief is the only emotion the brain cannot fake that obligatorily implies that the desire has already been fulfilled. You cannot feel relief if you are still waiting. Relief is the signal of mission accomplished. When you are able to invoke the feeling of relief in relation to your desire before it appears in the physical world, you have achieved transmutation. You have taken the bar of cold metal, the desire, and submerged it in the core of the blue flame. The metal melts instantly. The giant receives the liquid gold. The order has been accepted. 3. The ignition protocol, step by step. Now we are going to operate the machinery. You don't need years of practice. You need to follow this mental engineering protocol. You are going to learn to ignite the blue flame at will. Step 1. Thermal isolation, relaxation. You cannot fuse metal in the middle of a storm. You need stillness. Retreat to a quiet place. Close your eyes. The lame king must sit on his throne. Calm your body. As long as your body is tense, you are in survival mode, red fire. You need to switch to creation mode. Breathe deeply until you feel gravity pulling you down. Shut down external senses. Enter your inner foundry. Step 2. Selecting the mold, the image. Choose your desire. Do not choose 10 things. Choose 1. Be specific but brief. Do you want health? The mold is not, I want to be cured. The mold is the final scene. Visualize a short scene that implies you are already healthy. For example, you are tying your shoes to go for a run, feeling the strength in your legs. Or a friend tells you, you look incredible, and you reply, I feel better than ever. That is your mold. Keep it simple. Step 3. Ignition, the magic question. Now with the mold in your mind, do not start repeating words like a parrot. Ask yourself the ignition question. How would I feel right now at this very instant if this were true? Do not search for the answer with your head. Search for it with your body. Do not think the answer. Feel it. Let the question float in the silence. How would the relief of not having that debt feel? How would the relief of a clean diagnosis feel? Wait. Suddenly a small spark will appear in your chest, a sense of lightness, an involuntary smile, a sigh. That is the blue spark. Step 4. Oxygen supply amplification. When you feel that small spark of relief or gratitude, feed it. Breathe into it. Say softly, thank you. You don't have to thank anyone in particular if you don't want to. Just feel the vibration of the word thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Feel how that word acts as oxygen. The spark becomes a flame. The feeling of relief expands, fills your chest, relaxes your jaw, warms your hands. Now you are burning in the blue flame. Your vibrational state has changed. You are no longer someone who wants. You are someone who has. Step 5. The pouring fusion. Now at the peak of that relief, bring your mold, the scene or the short phrase, to the center of the fire. Hold the image of your success inside that feeling of gratitude. Fuse them. Feel that the image is real because you feel the relief. Maintain this state for just a few seconds. You don't need a lot of time. You need intensity and clarity. In that moment of union, the metal turns liquid. The thought has become flesh on the mental plane. 4. The cooling faith. Once you have felt the internal click, that feeling of profound satisfaction, the work is done. Open your eyes, get up. And here comes the hardest part. Let it cool. When a blacksmith pours metal into a mold, he does not touch it. He does not stick his finger in to see if it's hard. He does not shake the mold. He leaves it still. He knows that physics will do the rest. You must do the same. Do not leave your meditation seeking immediate results. Do not look at your phone with anxiety. Do not doubt. Doubt is like pouring cold water on the mold prematurely. It breaks the structure. Anxiety is trying to unmold before it is ready. Continue with your day with the attitude of the king, who has just signed a decree and sent it to the messenger. The king does not run after the messenger to see if he delivers the letter. The king trusts his system. The giant has received the liquid metal. Now it is his job, not yours, to turn it into solid matter. Chapter 2. The syndrome of inverted effort, the tyranny of will and the physics of quicksand. You tell yourself, I am going to make this happen. I'm going to concentrate with all my might. You grit your teeth, you clench your jaw, you turn your desire into a battle. You believe that if you apply enough mental pressure, the universe will yield. And then the unthinkable happens. The harder you try to heal, the sicker you feel. The more you fight to sleep, the more awake you are. The more you try to remember that forgotten name, the more it hides in the darkness. The more desperately you chase money, the faster it flees from you. Welcome to the cruelest paradox of the human mind. Welcome to the syndrome of inverted effort. This law, discovered by the French pioneer Émile Coué and deeply studied by Joseph Murphy, establishes an absolute mechanical principle. When your willpower and your imagination enter into conflict, imagination invariably wins. And not only does it win, but the force of your will turns against you, reinforcing exactly what you do not desire. To the lame king, this seems like an injustice. To the blind giant, it is simple fluid mechanics. 1. The physics of mental friction. Let's analyze the structure of this failure. The lame king, your conscious mind, has a favorite tool, willpower. The blind giant, your subconscious, has a favorite tool, imagination, the internal image of reality. Imagine we place a wooden plank 10 meters long and 30 centimeters wide on the floor of your living room. I ask you to walk across it. You do it without thinking. It's easy. Why? Because your will, I want to cross and your imagination, I can cross, it is safe, are aligned. The giant and the king walk together. There is no conflict. Now take that same plank, identical in physics and dimensions, and place it suspended between 2 skyscrapers, 200 meters above the city asphalt. I ask you to cross. Your will, the king, says, I want to cross, I want to get to the other side, the fulfilled desire. But your imagination, the giant, looks down and screams, I am going to fall, it is too high, imminent death. At this moment, civil war erupts. You try to use your willpower to take a step. You force yourself, you tense up. But the image of falling in your mind is more powerful than your desire to cross. What happens? The more you strive not to fall, the stiffer your body becomes. Fear makes you tremble. Your center of gravity destabilizes. The muscle tension, generated by your own effort, is what makes you lose balance. Your effort to cross becomes the cause of your fall. This is the law. In a conflict between will and imagination, imagination always wins, because imagination is the giant. The giant is 1,000,000 times stronger than the king. If the king tries to push the giant, the king will be crushed. 2. The quicksand mechanism. When you apply willpower to change a subconscious belief, you are activating the quicksand mechanism. If you find yourself trapped in a swamp, your reptilian instinct screams, fight, move, get out of here. But the physics of the swamp dictates that vigorous movement creates a vacuum and suction. The harder you thrash, the faster you sink. Your own energy is used by the mud to kill you. The only way to survive quicksand is to do the counterintuitive thing. Relax, spread out, float, surrender to the surface. The same thing happens with your reality. If you have a debt and try to fight poverty mentally, you are focusing your attention on the lack. Your effort screams, it is difficult, it is heavy. The giant receives the order, it is difficult, and, obediently, makes money more difficult to obtain. If you have insomnia and strive to sleep, you are creating tension. Sleep requires relaxation. Your effort to sleep is the guarantee of your wakefulness. Effort implies resistance. If you have to strive to believe you are rich, it is because deep down you believe you are poor. Effort is the proof of doubt. He who knows does not strive. He who is does not try to be. The king who has to shout to be obeyed is not a true king. He is a frightened usurper, and the giant knows it. 3. Tension is the enemy. We must redefine discipline. Mental discipline is not tension. It is not clenching your mental fists until your knuckles turn white. Tension is the enemy of manifestation. Why? Because physical and mental tension is the biological signal of fear. When you are tense, you are telling your subconscious, we are under attack, there is a predator. Close the floodgates, protect the resources, do not accept new orders. When you try to program your mind from a state of tension or desperation, the giant closes the doors of the fortress. The drawbridge goes up. Your affirmations and visualizations bounce off the closed walls of your psyche. You are shouting outside the fortress, but no one is listening inside. That is why your desperate prayers are rarely answered. Desperation is static noise. Desperation is the confirmation that you do not have what you are asking for. You have been using willpower as a battering ram to break down the door of your own mind, without realizing that you have the key in your pocket. The giant does not respond to coercion. He hates to be pushed. If you push him, he pushes back with the strength of a titan, and you will always lose. The path to dominion is not force. It is seduction. The lame king must learn to stop being a tyrant who demands and become a master who suggests, who soothes, who convinces without touching. He must learn the art of active non-action. We have established the iron law. Willpower is the enemy of imagination. If you try to force your giant, he will crush you with the strength of your own fears. So what is the solution? If you can't fight, do you surrender? Do you accept illness, poverty, and loneliness as your inevitable fate? Absolutely not. The king does not abdicate, the king changes tactics. If you cannot open the doors of the subconscious fortress with a battering ram, you must use a key. And that key is forged from a material your ego hates, but your soul craves: deep relaxation. To deactivate the syndrome of inverted effort, you must master the protocol of tactical surrender. 1. The physics of non-resistance. The blind giant is a perfect defense mechanism. When he senses pressure, your effort, he assumes there is an attack and raises his shields. But when he senses relaxation, he assumes the environment is safe and lowers the drawbridge. To implant a new order, you must wait until the guard at the door, your critical, struggling intellect, falls asleep or is distracted. Joseph Murphy taught that the most potent moment for reprogramming the mind is not during the frantic activity of the day, but in a state he called drowsy state, or sleepiness. In this state, the lame king stops shouting orders. He stops analyzing. He stops worrying about the how. He simply reclines on his throne and whispers. Tactical surrender is not weakness. It is strategy. It is the deliberate act of reducing physical and mental effort to the absolute minimum so that the conscious mind becomes passive and the subconscious mind becomes receptive. 2. The protocol of gentle infiltration. How do you cross the plank between the two skyscrapers without falling? You don't do it by looking into the abyss, fear. You don't do it by tensing your muscles, effort. You do it by imagining that you are already on the other side. Effort arises when you worry about the means. How am I going to pay this? How will I heal? The giant takes care of the means. Your job is the end. The protocol is simple. Imagine yourself after the problem has been solved. You don't imagine how you got the money. You imagine shaking someone's hand and saying, "I'm so happy this worked out." Or imagine touching the texture of your new car, or hearing your doctor's voice saying, "It's a miracle, you're perfect." When you focus exclusively on the end, and you do it with relaxation, you annul the effort. There is no struggle in the end. In the end, the battle has already been won. By mentally living in the end, you give the giant the exact coordinate of the destination. And since there is no tension, because in your mind it has already happened, the giant runs towards that reality without obstacles. To the imagination without conflict, the final technique. Let's go back to the plank between the skyscrapers. How do you align imagination with will so you don't fall? You must stop imagining the process, walking across the plank, and start imagining the end having crossed. The effort arises when you worry about the means. How am I going to pay this? How will I heal? The giant takes care of the means. Your job is the end. The protocol is simple. Imagine yourself after the problem has been solved. You don't imagine how you got the money. You imagine shaking someone's hand and saying, "I'm so happy this worked out." Or imagine touching the texture of your new car. Or hearing your doctor's voice saying, "It's a miracle, you're perfect." When you focus exclusively on the end, and you do it with relaxation, you annul the effort. There is no struggle in the end. In the end, the battle has already been won. For the signal of success, divine indifference. How do you know if you have overcome the syndrome of inverted effort? You will know by how you feel after your practice. If you get up anxious looking for results, you have failed. You are still pushing. But if you get up with a feeling of peace, of lightness, or even of a divine indifference, you have succeeded. That indifference is not apathy. It is the tranquility of knowing that it is already done. It is the feeling you have after sending a certified package. You stop worrying about the package. You know the logistics will take care of it. This is the mastery of the king. Knowing that his power is not in his hands but in his silent decree. Stop pushing the river. The river flows on its own. You only need to guide the boat with the gentle touch of the rudder. Chapter 3. Mental Chemization and the Healing Crisis, Chaos Before Order. You started programming wealth and suddenly your car breaks down. You lose a major client or an unexpected bill arrives. You started programming perfect health, and the next day you wake up with a sudden fever, sharp pain, or crushing fatigue. You started programming harmony and love, and that same afternoon you have the worst argument in years with your partner. The lame king on his surface throne panics. He looks at the disaster and shouts, "This isn't working. I'm doing something wrong. I've awakened the giant's wrath." Fear invades you. Your logic tells you to stop, to return to safety, that metaphysics is a dangerous lie. Stop. Breathe. And listen carefully, because this is the most important thing you will learn about reality engineering. Chaos is not a sign of failure. Chaos is the signal that the reaction has begun. What you are experiencing has a technical name that Joseph Murphy and the great masters of the mind identified decades ago, but which is rarely explained with the necessary depth. It is called mental chemization. To understand this, we must stop thinking of the mind as an inert warehouse and start seeing it as a high-volatility chemical laboratory. 1. The exothermic reaction of consciousness. Imagine your subconscious mind is a large beaker. For years you have been pouring a dark, dense, corrosive liquid into it, your fears, your grudges, your beliefs of limitation, and your self-criticism. This dark liquid has settled. It has become stable. It has formed a toxic sediment at the bottom of your psyche, creating what you call your normal life. It is a limited life, yes, but it is chemically stable. Now, armed with your new knowledge, you decide to pour a new element into the beaker. You pour the pure golden liquid of divine truth, of abundance, and of love. What happens in a laboratory when you pour a pure alkaline agent into a tank of corrosive acid? Do they mix peacefully? No. A violent reaction occurs. The liquid bubbles, it heats up, it splashes, it releases gases. There is turbulence, there is effervescence. The acid is fighting for its survival. The pure agent is fighting to neutralize the toxicity. This is what is happening inside you. You cannot introduce a high-frequency idea, wealth, health, into a container full of low-frequency, fear, illness, without causing a shock reaction. The blind giant is stirring the contents of your soul. The sudden bad luck, the irritability, the physical symptom, are the gas bubbles escaping to the surface. They are the physical proof that the old structure is dissolving. If there were no reaction, it would mean your new idea was too weak to affect the old programming. The presence of chaos is the confirmation of contact. It means the medicine has reached the infection. The paradox of cleansing, the muddy glass. Let's use another analogy so the king understands what the giant is doing. Imagine a glass of water that has been still for 10 years. At the bottom is a thick layer of black mud, your old beliefs. As long as the water is still, it appears clear on the surface. The mud is there, but it is not bothersome. Now you decide to clean the glass. You open a faucet of crystal clear, powerful water, your new programming, and direct it into the glass. What happens in the first minute? Does the water look cleaner? No, it looks infinitesimally dirtier. The force of the new stream has stirred up the bottom. The The dormant mud has risen and is now swirling in a dark vortex, clouding the entire content. If an ignorant observer looked at the glass at that moment, they would say, "Stop! You are ruining the water. It was clear before and now it's a swamp." But the master knows the truth. The water is not getting dirty, it is purging itself. The only way to get the mud out is to stir it up. The dirt has to come to the surface and overflow so that the pure water can take its place. That argument with your partner is not the end of the relationship. It is the mud of hidden resentment coming to the surface to be expelled, making space for real love. That sudden fever is not illness. It is vitality expelling toxins accumulated over years of apathy. That financial crisis is not poverty. It is the collapse of your old false security structures to force you to build on the solid rock of true wealth. 3. The architect of demolition. The blind giant does not just build. He must also destroy what occupies the place of your desire. You cannot build a palace of gold on the same ground where there is a rotten shack without first demolishing the shack. And demolition is noisy. It is dirty, it raises dust, it is uncomfortable. When you ask for wealth, the giant looks at your life and sees jobs that don't serve you, spending habits that limit you, and friendships that keep you small. To build wealth, he must eliminate those obstacles. Sometimes the giant fires you from your mediocre job. The lame king cries, "Disaster." The giant knows. Demolition complete. The ground is ready for the $1,000,000 enterprise. The healing crisis is the sound of the giant's jackhammers breaking the pavement of your limitations. It is uncomfortable, yes. Sometimes it is terrifying, but it is a process of divine engineering. 4. The danger of retreat. Here lies the greatest danger for the aspiring creator. When the glass clouds up, when the demolition begins, the king feels fear, and in his fear, he commits the fatal mistake. He turns off the faucet. He stops doing his affirmations. He stops visualizing. He returns to his old security patterns to calm the storm. And what happens? The mud settles again. The chaos ceases. The calm returns, but it is the calm of the cemetery. You have returned to your old life. You have kept the rotten shack. You have aborted the birth of the palace because you were scared by the labor pains. Most people live lives of silent desperation because every time they try to change, they hit the barrier of chemization and retreat. They interpret the purge as an error instead of seeing it as a symptom of success. You must understand this. If hell breaks loose, it is because heaven is descending. Friction is necessary for movement. The rocket must burn a massive amount of fuel and generate a violent vibration to break gravity. Your current crisis is your rocket taking off. It is not the time to stop. It is not the time to doubt. It is the time to put on your seatbelt, look the chaos in the eyes, and smile, knowing that the giant is cleaning house. To navigate mental chemization without losing your sanity, you must master the stability protocol. This is not an exercise to feel good. It is a spiritual combat technique to hold your position while reality rearranges around you. 1. Event relabeling, the alchemy of the word. The first step to surviving the purge is to immediately change the name of what is happening. The conscious mind is a labeling machine. When a problem occurs, your automatic label is disaster, failure, punishment. These labels are toxic instructions that tell the giant, "Stop the work, we are under attack." You must manually intervene in that labeling. When you lose the job, when the argument erupts, when the symptom arrives, you must look at it coldly and apply the correct label. This is the purge. Or better yet, this is debris coming out. Imagine yourself as a surgeon in the middle of an open-heart operation. There is blood. There is cut tissue. The patient seems worse than before the operation. If someone from the street walked in, they would shout, "Murder!" But the surgeon knows the truth. This is healing. Fever is not illness. It is the body's fire burning the virus. Conflict is not the end of love. It is the fire of the relationship burning the hidden lies. Your first command to the giant in the midst of chaos must be, "Calm down, everything is going according to plan. We are taking out the trash." 2. The law of non-interference. Do not touch the mud. Let's return to the glass of turbid water. The mud is swirling, the water is brown and ugly. What is the fastest way for the water to become clear again? To put your hand in to try to grab the pieces of mud? To shake the glass to fix it? No. Any active intervention will only keep the mud in suspension. The only way to clear the water is to leave it still. You must allow gravity to do its work. You must allow the heavy mud to settle to the bottom or overflow the edge. In your life, this means practicing radical non-reaction. When the healing crisis erupts, do not frantically rush to fix it from fear. Do not call your ex crying. Do not sell your stocks in a panic. Do not change your diet 10 times in one day. That frantic reaction is putting your hand in the mud. The king observes the storm, but does not go out to get wet. Your job during the crisis is to keep your internal routine intact. Keep doing your visualizations. Keep feeling your relief. Ignore the evidence of your senses that screams the world is ending. Tell your mind, this is just demolition dust. I will not cough. I will wait for it to settle. 3. The eye of the hurricane technique, the anchor of certainty. Joseph Murphy taught that peace is not the absence of a storm, but the calm at the center of it. During chemisation, the external world, the periphery, will spin violently. Your inner world, the center, must remain immobile. How is this achieved? With the technique of the end. When you are in the middle of the disaster, withdraw your attention from the painful now and cast it, like an anchor hook, towards the resolved future. Anchor yourself in the certainty of the final result. Remember this, chaos is temporary, the decree is eternal. If you have decreed wealth and are now bankrupt, the bankruptcy is only the bridge collapsing to force you to cross into the new territory. Look at the disaster and say, this too shall pass. My ending is already written, my victory is inevitable. This is just a plot twist in the second act of the movie, but I already know the end. This attitude of divine indifference towards temporary problems is what most terrifies fear and most pleases the giant. The giant senses your calm in the midst of the fire and thinks, my king is not afraid, therefore this is not a threat. I continue building. For the blessing of the toxin, transmutation. The last step is absolute mastery. You don't just tolerate chaos, you use it. Every time an old belief, an old fear, or an old toxic person leaves your life during this phase, do not lament. Do not say, why me? Say, thank you for leaving. Bless what leaves. When you pay that unexpected bill that left you at zero, say, thank you for cleansing my flow. You are making space for the millions that are coming. When that person abandons you, say, thank you for freeing me. You are making space for the love I deserve. When you feel physical pain, say, thank you for the restructuring. I know you are building a new body. By blessing the exit of the poison, you accelerate the purge process. You turn pain into gratitude, and gratitude, as we know, is the blue flame that fuses reality. Chapter 4. The Night Shift, the Reality Factory that Never Sleeps. You have survived the crises of wakefulness, but now the sun sets. The world shuts down, your body is tired, and your eyelids are heavy. You prepare to sleep, believing the day is over. You think you are going to rest. You think you are going to disconnect. That is the error that keeps you poor. That is the error that keeps you sick. In the economy of the inner giant, there are no vacations. There is no downtime. When the lame king, your conscious mind, closes his eyes and withdraws to his chambers to sleep, something monumental happens in the divine foundry. The night shift begins. For the next 8 hours, the giant will work unsupervised with a power and freedom he does not have during the day. The question that will determine your destiny is not what you did during the 16 hours of sunlight. The question is, what instructions did you leave the foreman before closing the door? This chapter is about sleep engineering. We are going to transform your bed into an altar of transmutation. 1. The physics of darkness, the hypnagogic threshold. To master the night shift, you must first understand the entrance portal. There is a magical fringe of time, a state of consciousness that scientists call the hypnagogic state, and mystics call the torn veil. It is that precise moment when you are no longer fully awake but not yet asleep. Your body feels heavy, almost paralyzed. Your thoughts become fragmented and dreamlike. In this state, a crucial neurological phenomenon occurs. The security guard, your critical mind, goes home. During the day, if you say, I am rich, the guard says, liar, look at your account. But in the pre-sleep state, the guard is too tired to argue. The logical barriers fall. The path to the giant's core is completely clear. Joseph Murphy taught that this is the moment of maximum impregnation. Any idea, any image, or any feeling you sustain in your consciousness during these final minutes of wakefulness does not stay on the surface. It sinks like a heavy stone into the bottom of a deep lake. It falls directly into the subconscious engine room. The giant picks up that last impression. He does not question it. He does not analyze it. He simply takes it as the master order for the night shift. He looks at the last image you gave him and says, "Understood. This is the template. I have 8 uninterrupted hours to weave this into the structure of his life. To night sabotage the lethal injection. Here is where most of humanity commits a slow spiritual suicide, night after night. Analyze your pre-sleep routine. What do you do in those precious minutes of the hypnagogic threshold? Most people commit 3 crimes against their own future. The crime of the screen. They watch news of disasters, collapsed economies, or violence just before closing their eyes. They are handing the giant photos of chaos and telling him, "Reproduce this." The crime of the review. They mentally go over everything that went wrong during the day. I fought with my boss. I don't have money for rent. My back hurts. They are chewing the poison of the past and spitting it into the future. The crime of worry. They lie down with the wrong question. What am I going to do if something bad happens? Worry is a prayer for disaster. By doing this, you are loading the night shift machinery with toxic materials. You fall asleep with anguish. And the giant says, "Perfect. The king wants anguish. I have 8 hours to reorganize his biology and create more stress. I have 8 hours to sabotage his opportunities tomorrow so they match this worry." You wake up tired, without energy, depressed. It's not a lack of sleep. It's that you have been working all night in the nightmare factory. You have been building your own prison while you snored. 3. The law of the last thought. You must engrave this law in your mind. Your last conscious feeling is the first subconscious order. The subconscious has no sense of humor or time. It works with the last thing it received. If your last feeling was fear, fear will be the mold of the night. If your last feeling was gratitude, gratitude will be the mold. Imagine you own a multi-million-dollar construction company. You have the most advanced equipment in the world and work 24 hours. Would you leave the office at night, leaving the blueprints of a ruined building on the foreman's desk with a note saying, "Urgent"? Never. Because you know that when you return in the morning, the crew will have built the ruin. Yet that is what you do with your life. You leave the blueprints of your poverty and illness on the desk of your mind before sleeping. The lame king must learn to clean the desk. 4. The threshold cleansing. Before attempting to program the new, you must take out the trash. The first step of sleep engineering is decontamination. Never, under any circumstance, take an argument to bed. Never take a financial worry to the pillow. The pillow is sacred ground. It is the altar of conception. If you have had a bad day, you must rewrite it before sleeping. This is a technique of the ancient Pythagorean initiates. Review your day, and when you get to the part where you failed or suffered, edit it in your mind. Visualize it as you would have liked it to happen. Feel the satisfaction of that alternative outcome. By doing this, you neutralize the poison. You remove the emotional charge from the negative memory. You clean the file before handing it to the giant. You cannot enter the night shift with the boots still muddy from the day. You must wash your mental feet. You must enter clean. The lame king has washed his feet of the day's mud. He has forgiven, released mental debts, and left the desk clean. Now he stands before the massive door separating wakefulness from sleep. Behind that door, the giant awaits the work order for the next 8 hours. If you give him nothing, he will recycle the past. If you give him fear, he will build prisons. You must give him a seed of the future. But here arises a technical problem. In the state of pre-sleep fatigue, your conscious mind does not have the energy to sustain complex visualizations. If you try to imagine a detailed movie of your success, you will wake up. You will activate your intellect, and the guard will close the door. You cannot enter sleep by forcing the door, you must slide in. For this, Joseph Murphy and the masters of the law designed the most elegant and underestimated technique of all, the subconscious lullaby. 1. The condensation theory, the power capsule. The subconscious, in its nocturnal state, operates with symbols and rhythms, not with legal paragraphs. You do not need to explain to the giant how to get the money or how to heal your body. He already knows how to do it. He is the architect of your biology, and the weaver of your destiny. He only needs to know the what. Therefore, the first step of the protocol is condensation. You must take your complex desire, that new house, that total healing, that successful business, and distill it into a small psychic capsule, a short phrase, a 3 or 4 word mantra. If you need money, the phrase is not, "I want to earn $10,000 a month." The phrase is wealth, success. If you need health, the phrase is perfect health or thank you for my healing. If you need to resolve a conflict, the phrase is divine order. Or the master phrase that covers all needs, thank you, Father. These words are not simple sounds, they are containers. They are compressed zip codes that, when unzipped by the giant, contain gigabytes of emotional and structural information. By condensing the desire, you prevent your logical mind from arguing. Logic can argue with a business plan, but it cannot argue with the word wealth. It is too abstract for the intellect, but perfectly clear to the subconscious. 2. The lullaby protocol, step by step. Now we are going to execute the insertion. Follow this protocol this very night. Phase A, immobilization. Lie down in bed. Turn off the light. Adopt a posture that requires no muscular effort. Now do something vital. Anchor your body. Tell your legs, arms and neck not to move. Physical immobility is the switch that tells the brain it is safe to shift from beta waves, alert, to alpha and theta waves, programming. Feel your body become heavy, as if made of lead sinking into the mattress. You are disconnecting the lame king from his physical vehicle. Phase B, the drowsy state, state akin to sleep. Do not fall asleep yet. Keep a small candle of attention lit. Search for that sweet spot where thoughts become blurred, where external reality feels distant. It is the state where you know you could move if you wanted to, but you don't feel like it. In this state, the drawbridge is down. The giant is listening. Phase C, the rhythmic loop. Now introduce your power capsule. Start repeating your short phrase in your mind. Wealth, a success, a wealth, a success. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But here is the secret. Do not say it like a military command. Say it like a lullaby. Imagine you are rocking a baby, your own subconscious, to sleep. Give it a tone of softness, of calm, of melody. The subconscious is hypnotic by nature. It loves rhythm and repetition. The rhythm soothes the critical guard and allows the word to slide into the background. While repeating the phrase, do not try to visualize complex images. Just feel the essence of the word. When you say wealth, feel a golden expansion. When you say health, feel a vibration of energy. When you say thank you, feel the relief of the blue flame. Phase D, the fall into the abyss. Keep repeating the loop. Wealth, success. You will feel your mind start to wander, to create strange, dreamlike images. That is good, it means you are crossing the threshold. Gently bring your attention back to the phrase. Your goal is for that phrase to be the last conscious thought you have before the cable is cut. You must fall asleep with the phrase on the lips of your mind. If you achieve this, you have won. You have managed to get the seed into the ground just before the rain falls. You have delivered the order to the foreman just before closing the door. The giant takes that vibration, wealth, and having no other contradictory instruction because you are already asleep and your logic cannot doubt, gets to work. For 8 hours, your biology, your energy, and your quantum field will bathe in the frequency of wealth. You will be marinating your being in the solution of your desire. 3. The golden dawn, the morning signal. How do you know if the night shift was productive? You will know by how you feel in the first second of waking. If you wake up with anxiety, with your heart racing, or with an immediate feeling of heaviness, it means the programming failed. You probably let a parasitic thought enter at the last moment. Do not punish yourself. Try again tonight. But if you wake up with a strange feeling of peace, if you open your eyes and feel a bubble of joy for no apparent reason, if you feel a quiet certainty that everything is all right, then celebrate it. That is the morning echo. It is the smoke coming out of the factory chimneys, indicating that the work has been done. Your subconscious has accepted the order. Reality is already rearranging itself. Do not allow the outside world to break that bubble. In the moment you wake up with that feeling, do not grab your phone. Do not look at the news. Do not let the world inject its poison back into you. Stay still for a minute. Savor that state. Say, thank you. I know you worked hard. I know it is done. 4. The discipline of the king. This is the habit that builds empires. It does not matter how bad your day went. It does not matter how many debts you have, how many pains you feel, or how lonely you are. The night is your refuge. The night is your workshop. You have the power to rewrite your story every time you go to sleep. Never waste a night. Never give the giant an order of desperation. If you go to sleep every night in the arms of your fulfilled desire, you will wake up every morning in a world that looks a little more like your dream. Until one day, there will be no difference between the dream and the waking world. Chapter 5. The Sovereign Decree, the Physics of Authority and the Death of the Beggar King. What does the average king do when faced with this challenge? He abdicates. He steps down from the throne, removes the crown, throws himself on the ground and starts to beg. Please let this change. I wish it would work. Why isn't it arriving? I need this to happen. The moment you need, the moment you beg, you have lost control of the giant. You must understand the fundamental hierarchy of your mind. The giant is a servant of infinite power, but he is a servant, and a servant needs a master. If the master begs, the servant gets confused. If the master doubts, the servant is paralyzed. If the master asks permission from external reality to feel good, the servant understands that external reality is the true boss. The fifth law of the mind is the law of the sovereign decree. This law states, the subconscious does not obey your wishes. It obeys your defined identity. You don't get what you want. You get what you are, and the tool to define who you are is not the prayer of supplication, but the decree of authority. 1. The pathology of the beggar king. Let's analyze the mistake you make every day. Most people pray or affirm from the posture of the beggar king. They go to their mind and say, I want to be rich. Analyze that phrase, I want to be. Grammatically and vibrationally, that phrase is a declaration of absence. To want something, you first have to not have it. When you tell the giant, I want health, you are confirming, right now I'm sick. And the giant, who is a perfect photocopier of your current state, says, understood, the king confirms he is sick. Maintain the illness, block the cure. Desire, when expressed as a future need, is the affirmation of a present lack. Every time you say, I wish or see, you are signing a decree of poverty. Every time you say, I will try, you are signing a decree of doubt. The beggar king lives waiting for the external world to change so he can feel like a king. When I have the money, I will feel secure. When he loves me, I will feel valuable. This is slavery. You have given the scepter of command to circumstances. 2. The name of God, the source code of reality. To reclaim the throne, you must use the oldest and most potent word of power in human history. It is not a magic word. It is a programming code. That word is I am. In all mystical traditions, from the Bible to the Vedas, we are told that the name of God is I am. Joseph Murphy explained the physics behind this. I am is the only phrase that defines existence. Whatever you put after I am becomes law for your subconscious. When you say I'm tired, the giant lowers your energy. When you say I am ruined, the giant closes opportunities. When you say I am health, the giant mobilizes biology. The sovereign decree is not a request, it is a sentence. A judge doesn't say, I wish the accused were guilty. The judge strikes the gavel and says, guilty, and in that instant, the man's reality changes. You are the judge of your life. Your word is the sentence. 3. The trap of future tense. Here is where the king must be astute. The giant lives in an eternal now. For him, tomorrow does not exist. If you use the future tense in your decrees, you annul your power. I will be happy means I am not happy now. I will be cured means I am still sick. The giant always pushes the future forward, like a carrot tied to a stick in front of a donkey. If you decree in the future, the manifestation will always stay one day further away. The sovereign decree is always, without exception, conjugated in the present tense. Even if your body is full of pain, the decree is not I will be cured. The decree is I am perfect health manifesting now. Even if your account is at zero, the decree is not I will have money. The decree is I am the wealth circulating in my life. This requires immense spiritual audacity. It requires you to have the courage to deny the evidence of your senses, what you see outside, to affirm the truth of your spirit, what you create inside. It is what Murphy called calling things that are not as though they were. 4. The vibration of authority, do not shout. But beware, a decree is not a shout. Many try to use the I am by shouting, tensing up, trying to convince themselves forcefully. Remember the previous chapter. Tension is fear. If you shout, it is because you doubt. A king does not need to shout to be brought water. He simply raises a finger and whispers. True authority is silent. It is cold. It is absolute. The sovereign decree must be pronounced with a divine indifference. It is an attitude of, I say it and therefore it is. I do not need to discuss it. I do not need to check it. It is. When you say, I am prosperous with that cold, secure calm, the giant feels a shiver of respect. He senses that the king has returned. He senses that there is no longer room for error. Quiet authority cuts through emotional chaos like a hot knife through butter. You wake up with your decree of I am wealth, but then you open the bank envelope and see debt. You look in the physical mirror and see illness. Your partner says something hurtful and you hear lack of love. The mirror shouts at you, you lie, look at reality. You are not a king, you are a failure. Here is where the false kings die. They flinch before the mirror. They believe the reflection is more powerful than the source. They believe that what they see is the truth. The sovereign king knows a secret that the common man ignores. The mirror is always late. The physical world you see today is the shadow of your decrees from yesterday. It is dead light. It is a star that already burned out, but whose light is still traveling. The debt you see today is the materialization of your fear from months ago. Today's illness is the crystallization of your past stress. If you react to the mirror, if you are scared by what you see, you are committing the fatal error. You are signing a new decree based on old data. You are perpetuating the cycle. To break the mirror, you need the sword of the veto. 1. The power of the divine no. Until now, we have spoken of creating, of saying yes to the new. But sovereignty is also the capacity to destroy, to say no to the old. The giant needs to know what to demolish. When reality presents you with a circumstance you do not desire, do not accept it with resignation. Do not say, well, that's life. That is an order of confirmation. The king must rise, look the circumstance in the eye and use the royal veto. The protocol is this. When you see the debt, feel the fear rise, but intercept it with the sword. Say internally with absolute coldness, I do not accept this. This is not my truth. This is a lie from the past passing before my eyes. I veto it. Joseph Murphy called this denying the evidence of the senses. It is not madness, it is hierarchy. You are the creator, reality is the creature. The creature cannot dictate the truth to the creator. By denying the reality of the problem in your mind, you starve it. The problem needs your attention and your fear to survive. If you give it a resounding no and withdraw your attention, the problem starves to death. It dissolves. 2. The mirror and the sword protocol, the technique. How do you practice this in the crossfire of daily life? Use this technique every time the world contradicts you. Step A. The mirror strike. You receive the bad news, the mirror strikes you, you feel the contraction in your stomach. It is normal. It is the biological reaction. Do not judge yourself. Step B. The unsheathing, the pause. Do not react, do not speak, do not complain, take a deep breath. That air is the sound of the sword leaving the sheath. You are separating your consciousness from the event. You are remembering who you are. Step C. The cut, the inverse decree. Mentally draw a line of fire between yourself and the problem and declare the eternal truth. If the mirror says illness, you decree lie. The truth of my being is divine health. This appearance is temporary and has no power. If the mirror says poverty, you decree I reject this appearance. My supply is infinite and flows now. You are not trying to fix the mirror. You are reaffirming your authority over it. By doing this, you keep your vibration elevated, and the giant, seeing that you have not been impressed by the shadow, understands that the order for wealth is still valid and accelerates construction. 3. The royal guard, the strict mental diet. Our king does not allow just anyone to enter his private chamber and dump trash. Yet you allow every negative thought to enter your mind, take off its shoes, and get comfortable on your sofa. You allow thoughts of self-criticism. I am an idiot. Fear, it will go wrong. And judgment. Each of these thoughts is a minor decree. They are sabotage orders that the giant listens to and executes. For the sovereign decree to work, you must establish a royal guard. You must watch the door of your mind with a flaming sword. Emmett Fox, the great master of New Thought, proposed the 7-day mental diet. The challenge is simple but brutal. For 7 days, you cannot allow yourself to harbor even a single negative thought. Note, you cannot stop the thought from coming, that is impossible, but you can stop it from staying. If a negative thought arrives, you have 10 seconds to kill it with the sword of the veto. Tell it, no, you have no place here, and substitute it immediately with the sovereign decree, I am peace. If you catch yourself ruminating on a negative thought for more than a minute, you have broken the diet. You have to start again from day 1. This discipline forges the king's will. It teaches your mind who is in charge. 4. The royal signature, naturalness. Finally, how is a decree sealed so that it is irrevocable? Not with force, but with naturalness. A king does not spend the day shouting, I am the king, I am the king. That would be a madman or an impostor. A king simply is. He sits on the throne with naturalness. He gives orders in a low voice. He knows he is the king. Your final goal with the I am is to reach the point of naturalness. At first, when you say, I am rich, you will feel fake. It's normal, your old self is fighting. But if you persist, using the blue flame of relief and the sword of the veto against doubts, a magical moment will arrive. One day you will say, I am rich, and you will feel no resistance. You will feel that it is normal. You will feel that it is a fact, as obvious as saying, I have hands. That moment of naturalness is the coronation. When your desire feels natural, the giant has already accepted it completely. Physical manifestation is just a bureaucratic formality of the universe. It is already yours. Chapter 6. The Mental Cinema Technique, the Visual Language and the Tyranny of the Image. The 6th law of the mind states, an image is worth more than 1,000 affirmations. The subconscious cannot distinguish between an image seen with the open eyes and an image constructed with intensity on the mind's screen. Welcome to the editing room of your reality. Welcome to the mental cinema. 1. The supremacy of the image. Verbal language is a recent invention in the history of evolution. For millions of years, life operated based on shapes, colors, movements, and visual dangers. Your inner giant, that primitive and powerful part of you, still operates under that visual operating system. Words are abstract codes. They must be translated. If you say apple, your brain has to work to decode the letters and find the concept. But if I show you a red, shiny apple, the reaction is instantaneous. Your mouth waters. Your memory is activated. When you try to command the giant with words alone, you are using a slow interface. When you use images, you are using the fiber optics of the soul. An image impacts the central nervous system directly, without passing through the logical filter of the security guard. That is why the architect who only writes wish lists fails. The architect who draws the blueprints is the one who sees the building rise. 2. The terror projector, your current use of cinema. Perhaps you think, but I don't know how to visualize, I have no imagination. Allow me to correct you. You are the most prolific and talented film director in history. The problem is the genre you have chosen. You have specialized in the cinema of terror and catastrophes. Analyze your worry. What is worry? It is the masterful use of your imagination to create something you do not want. When you worry about a job interview, you don't just think about it. You see the interviewer's look of disapproval. You see yourself stammering. You see the rejection email. You see your bank account dropping. You project that movie in your mind with every luxury of detail, in high definition. With surround sound and anxiety special effects, you repeat the movie over and over in an infinite loop until you know the script by heart. And the giant, sitting in the front row of your mind, looks at the screen and says, understood. That is the order. The king wants to be humiliated in the interview. Lights, camera, action. Let's make it happen in physical reality exactly as he designed it. You have been using the mental cinema technique your whole life, but you have used it to rehearse your failures before they occur. The self-fulfilling prophecy is not magic. It is the execution of a visual script that you yourself wrote, directed, and produced in the darkness of your skull. 3. The conflict of the split screen. The biggest obstacle to manifestation is having a split screen. On one hand, your mouth says positive decrees. I am healthy, I am healthy. But on your mental screen, you are projecting images of yourself in a hospital bed or fearfully looking at the medicine bottle. The giant is confused. He hears an order for health, but he sees a blueprint for illness. Who does he obey? He will always obey the image. The image is the architectural blueprint. The word is just a wish. No builder can raise a house with wishes alone. He needs the visual blueprint. If you want the Sovereign Decree, Chapter 5, to work, it must be backed by a coherent movie. You must learn to turn off the fear projector. You must learn to cut the tape of the horror movie, burn it, and thread a new tape, the movie of your victory. 4. The physics of high definition. The giant responds to clarity. A blurry image produces blurry results. If your visualization of wealth is just a grey blur of having lots of money, the giant does not know what to build. What does wealth look like to you? Is it a specific number on a mobile screen? Is it the feel of a leather steering wheel? Is it the sight of the sea from a terrace? The more pixels your image has, the more real it becomes for your nervous system. Joseph Murphy told the story of a man who wanted to sell his house. He didn't just think, "I want to sell it." He visualized himself holding the check in his hand. He visualized driving the sold sign into the lawn. He felt the wood of the hammer, saw the red color of the sign, heard the sound of the strike. He made the image so sharp, so solid, that his subconscious accepted it as an accomplished fact. The house sold in days. Your job as king is not just to give orders. It is to provide the blueprints. You must become an artist of detail. When you visualize yourself out there, as if you were watching an actor on a movie screen, you are sending the giant a very specific message. That is not me. That is someone else. Or that is me in a distant, separate future. By viewing yourself from the outside, in the third person, you create distance. You are acting as a spectator, and spectators do not live the movie, they only observe it. The giant does not need to see a movie about you. He needs to live the experience through you. For the visualization to become matter, you must leave the cinema seat, break the screen, and step inside the scene. 1. The first-person rule. This is the absolute law of mental cinema. You must never see your own face. If you can see your face in your visualization, you are outside your body. You are fantasizing. To create reality, you must see through your own eyes. If you want a new car, do not see yourself driving the car from the back seat or from a drone in the sky. Visualize your hands on the steering wheel. Visualize the asphalt moving in front of you. Feel the weight of your back against the seat. If you want health, do not see yourself running through the park as if it were a television commercial. Feel the air hitting your face. Look at your feet hitting the ground. Feel the rhythm of your heart inside your chest. When you visualize in the first person, associated, you trick the central nervous system. The brain cannot distinguish between what your physical eyes see and what your mental eyes see when the perspective is correct. You are giving the giant a synthetic memory. You are telling him, "This already happened, this is real, I was there." And the giant, who operates to align your external reality with your internal memory, is compelled to manifest it. 2. The sensory anchor, the touch of reality. The visual image is powerful, but sometimes it is volatile. Thought wanders. To nail the scene into reality, you need the sense of truth. Touch. Joseph Murphy and the great masters agreed. Touch is what makes the scene solid. In your mental cinema, don't just look, touch something. If you are visualizing a promotion, don't just see the boss. Feel the handshake. Feel the texture of his skin, the firmness of the grip, the temperature of his hand. If you are visualizing money, don't see bills flying. Feel the paper between your fingers. Feel the sharp edge of a new bill or the texture of a credit card. If you are visualizing a relationship, feel the embrace. Feel the solidity of the other person's body. Imaginary touch activates areas of the brain that mere visualization does not touch. It gives the giant the signal of proximity. This is not far away. This is here, within my grasp. 3. The short scene protocol, the loop. Now we are going to build your movie. Do not try to direct a 2-hour movie with complex plots. Your mind will wander, and you will fall asleep or be distracted. The most effective mental cinema functions like a GIF or a short TikTok clip. You need a scene of 5 to 10 seconds, nothing more. A scene that implies the desire has already been fulfilled. Example, you want to be free of a debt. Incorrect scene. You visualize winning the lottery, going to the bank, counting the money, paying. It's too long, too many variables. Correct scene. You are shaking a friend's hand and saying, "What a relief, it's all paid off." And you hear your friend say, "Congratulations," and you feel his hand, and you feel the relief. That 5-second scene contains all the necessary information. It implies you had a debt, it implies you got the money, and it implies you already paid it. It is the ending. The loop technique. Once you have your short scene in the first person. 1. Enter the state of relaxation. Chapter 2. 2. Start playing the scene. 3. Live it. Feel the touch, hear the voice. 4. When it ends, rewind and start again immediately. 5. Repeat it over and over, 10, 20, 50 times. At first, the image may be blurry. With repetition, it becomes sharp, it becomes solid. You start memorizing the future. Higher point is reached in the repetition where the logical mind surrenders. You stop trying to visualize and start feeling that you are there. The physical room disappears. The mental scene is the only reality. That is the moment of impregnation. The giant has received the file. 4. The final cut. When to stop? You don't stop when you are tired. You stop when you feel satisfied. There is a moment after repeating the loop many times when you feel a kind of internal click, a feeling of fullness. It is like having eaten a good meal. You are no longer hungry. You no longer feel the need to visualize because you feel you already lived it. That satisfaction is the signal that the seed has been planted. Open your eyes, get up, and don't look back. Chapter 7. The Infinite Librarian, Access to Wisdom and the End of Doubt. The king has regained his voice and his vision. He knows how to ask for bread and how to build castles. But there are moments in the reign when the brute force of the giant is useless. There are moments when the king doesn't need a builder, he needs a sage. You stand at a crossroads. You must make a critical business decision, but the data is confusing. You need a creative idea for your book or your company, but your mind is blank. You have lost something valuable and don't know where it is. Or simply, you feel lost in life and ask, "What is my purpose?" In these moments, the lame king usually makes his usual mistake. He starts to think. He uses his small logic, his limited 5% intellect to analyze, ruminate, worry, and go around in circles. He Googles. He asks for contradictory advice. He stresses out. He believes the answer lies in the effort of his brain. But the answer is never at the level of the problem. The answer is stored in a special room inside the castle of your mind, a room you rarely descend to. There lives an aspect of your subconscious that Joseph Murphy called the infinite intelligence, but which we will call by its most precise function, the infinite librarian. 1. The inner library of Alexandria. Your subconscious mind is not just a repository of your personal memories. It is an access terminal to the universal mind. Imagine a library without a roof or walls, whose shelves stretch into infinity. In this library is recorded everything that has happened, everything that is happening, and all the probabilities of what can happen. The librarian who guards it knows everything. He knows where you left the car keys. He knows the perfect investment for you right now. He knows the exact cure for your medical condition. He knows the ending of the novel you are trying to write. The librarian does not think, he knows. He does not deduce, he accesses. For him, the answer already exists. The problem and the solution are two sides of the same coin. If you have the capacity to formulate the question, he has the capacity to instantly deliver the answer. 2. The noise barrier. If this librarian is so wise, why do you live in doubt? Why do you make bad decisions? Because the library door has a security system sensitive to noise. The lame king, your intellect, approaches the door shouting, full of anxiety, "I need to know this now. I'm afraid of being wrong. It's urgent." That noise, that vibration of fear and urgency, blocks access. Anxiety is static. When you try to force a solution with your conscious mind, you are creating interference so strong that the librarian's soft, quiet voice cannot be heard. Wisdom does not enter a chaotic mind. Intuition cannot land on a runway full of worry debris. The more you strive to find the answer, the more you close the door. The librarian retreats into the shadows, waiting for the king to fall silent. 3. The law of the pre-existing answer. You must understand a fundamental metaphysical law. The answer precedes the question. In the librarian's realm, time is not linear. The solution to your problem exists before the problem manifests in your life. The invention already exists in the ether before the inventor captures it. The melody already sounds before the musician writes it. Your job is not to create the solution. Your job is to tune into it. You don't have to be intelligent, you have to be receptive. Genius is simply a person who has learned to silence their intellect long enough to hear the librarian whisper the formula to them. 4. The turn of trust. To access this wisdom, the king must do something that terrifies his ego. He must admit he doesn't know. He must relinquish logical control. He must say, "My intellect does not have the answer, but the librarian does. I hand the problem over to him." This act of delegation is not surrender, it is high-level management. When you stop trying to solve it with your 5% and hand it over to the 95%, you shift from limitation to omniscience. But how is the handover done? How do you give a search ticket to the librarian to work while you rest? There is a specific protocol for this. It is done, ideally, in the night shift. It is time to perform the commission to the librarian. This protocol is based on a biological truth. Your conscious mind shuts down for sleep, but your subconscious becomes hyperactive during the night. While you dream, the librarian has free access to the archives of the universal mind. If you give him a task before sleeping, he will work on it all night and leave the answer on your bedside table in the morning. 1. The commission protocol, step by step. Use it for any doubt. A business problem, a family decision, a lost object, or a creative crisis. Step A. Clearing the blackboard. When lying down, you must stop the wheel of worry. If you fall asleep thinking about the problem, the librarian will search for more problems. You must focus on the solution. Tell your body, relax, the day is over, the king withdraws. Step B, the formal request. When you are in the drowsy state, that magical threshold we already know, speak directly to the librarian. Do not use a supplicating tone. Use a tone of absolute confidence. Joseph Murphy recommended a specific prayer. Adapt it to your style but maintain the essence. The infinite intelligence of my subconscious knows the answer. It knows where what I seek is. It knows the perfect decision. I now hand this request over to it. I know the answer will arrive in divine order. I give thanks for the perfect solution that is already on its way. Step C, the feeling of resolution. This is the key. Do not fall asleep wondering how will it arrive. Fall asleep with the sensation that it is already solved. Imagine how happy you will be tomorrow when you have the answer. Feel that relief. Feel that joyful curiosity. That vibration of mission accomplished is the seal that authorizes the librarian to search the archive. To the delivery. How does the answer arrive? You have commissioned the request and fallen asleep. The librarian has worked all night, connecting invisible dots, scanning probabilities, accessing universal wisdom. Now you wake up. Where is the answer? It rarely arrives as a booming voice or an angel with a trumpet. The giant is subtle. The answer usually arrives in 3 ways. The dawn revelation. You wake up and suddenly you know. The idea is there, clear, simple, and obvious. You wonder how you didn't see it before. It is the eureka. The insistent hunch. During the day you feel an irrational urge to go to a place, to call someone, or to take a different route. Follow it. It is the librarian guiding you by the hand toward the solution. Logic will say, it makes no sense. The wise king will say, it is the guide. Synchronicity. You open a book and read a sentence. You overhear a conversation on the street, someone calls you, and there is the answer coming from outside. The librarian has moved the threads of the world to put the answer right in front of your eyes. 3. The lost object case. Use this power for small things to gain confidence. If you have lost your keys or a document, do not ransack the house in despair. That is the lame king in a panic. Sit down, close your eyes, calm the noise, tell the giant, you know where it is, you have the record of everything my eyes have seen. Reveal it. Then stop the search. Go do something else. In the moment you stop searching and turn off the static of anxiety, the image of the location will appear in your mind as a flash, or your hands will move automatically toward the correct drawer. 4. Wisdom is your right. Stop believing that you are alone and confused in the universe. You have a fiber optic connection to omniscience. The only price you must pay for this wisdom is trust. You must trust enough to release the problem before sleeping. You must trust enough to follow the hunch upon waking. The king who consults his librarian never fails, because his decisions are not based on the limited map of his eyes, but on the infinite vision of the giant. Chapter 8. The Mercury Mirror, the Mechanics of Projection and the Inner Casting Director. You look around and see other people. You see a tyrannical boss, you see a distant partner. You see envious friends or noisy neighbors, and the lame king on his logical throne points his finger and shouts, "They are the problem. If they would change, I would have peace." This is the supreme deception. This is the optical illusion that keeps you enslaved to drama. The eighth law of the mind is the hardest to accept, but the one that grants the greatest power. There are no others in the world of the subconscious. Everything you see outside is a projection of what you are inside. Welcome to the Mercury Mirror. Your reality mirror is not made of solid glass. It is made of liquid mercury. It does not reflect your face. It reflects your vibration. 1. The giant as casting director. To understand your relationships, you must stop seeing them as random encounters. Your blind giant has a function you are unaware of. He is the most ruthless casting director in Hollywood. The giant has a list of characters he needs to stage the movie of your life. Where does he get the script? From your deepest beliefs about yourself and about humanity. If the king secretly believes I am not worthy of respect, the giant reads that line in the script. Immediately the giant scans the world and looks for someone, a specific actor, who is willing to treat you without respect. He finds that boss, that partner, or that friend, and magnetically drags them into your orbit. When that person mistreats you, it is not an accident, it is a perfect performance. They are following the script that you wrote and the giant produced to the letter. You are angry at the actor, but the actor is only reading your lines. 2. The silent transmission. How does this happen? Joseph Murphy explained that we are walking radio stations. Your concept of yourself is a frequency. If you walk through the world feeling guilt, you're transmitting the signal. Seek punishment, seek punishment. At the subconscious level, people pick up that signal. Someone who has aggressive tendencies will pick up your seek punishment signal and feel an irresistible attraction to you. They will feel, without knowing why, an irrational urge to criticize or attack you. You, the lame king, will say, "I have such bad luck with people." But the giant knows the truth. It was an engineering success. The transmission found its receiver. The world treats you exactly as you treat yourself, in the darkness of your mind. 3. The illusion of the victim. The Mercury Mirror teaches us that the victim does not exist. Only the unconscious creator exists. If you are surrounded by love, it is because your giant has projected your own love outwards, and it has bounced back from others. If you are surrounded by conflict, it is because your internal civil war, your fear, your judgment, your repressed anger, has been externalized. Imagine you have an ink stain on your face. You look in the mirror and see the stain in the reflection. The ignorant king tries to clean the mirror. He rubs the glass furiously, shouts at the reflection, tries to swap the mirror for another one, but the stain remains. It is madness to fight the reflection. Yet that is exactly what you do when you argue, when you try to change others, when you demand to be treated differently without changing your own vibration. As long as you maintain the belief that the problem is out there, the giant will continue to hire the same actors in different costumes to repeat the same painful scene until you understand that the screenwriter is you. This revelation, though painful at first, is the key to your absolute liberation. If they were independent entities acting out of pure chance or malice, you would be condemned, you would be a perpetual victim. But if they are reflections, if they are projections of your own mental atmosphere, then you have total control. You don't have to change them. You don't have to fight, argue, manipulate, or beg. You only have to change the movie in the projector. When you change the inner movie, the external screen, the people, must change. It is a physical and mental law. They have no choice. They either change their behavior towards you, or they exit your life to make room for new actors who fit your new script. Now we will enter the laboratory of relationships. I will give you the exact protocols to clean the Mercury Mirror and dissolve conflict without saying a single word in the physical world. 1. The law of unconscious telepathic transmission. To operate these protocols, you must understand how human beings truly communicate. The lame king believes that communication is what you say, your words, your tone of voice, your body language. But the blind giant knows that true communication is vibrational. Joseph Murphy taught that there is a single mind that connects all beings. At a subconscious level, there are no barriers between you and your boss or you and your partner. You are connected by an invisible mental fiber optic network. What you think and feel about another person in the secrecy of your room is a direct transmission to their subconscious. If you smile at your boss but internally think, "He is incompetent and hates me," your giant sends that signal, "I am a victim, attack me." Your boss's subconscious receives the signal. He doesn't know why, but he suddenly feels an irrational irritation toward you. He feels the urge to criticize you. You have activated his dark side with your silent transmission. The golden rule of relationship metaphysics is, what you feel for the other, you activate in the other. If you feel fear of someone, you give them power to frighten you. If you feel hatred, you give them fuel to harm you. But if you manage, through mental alchemy, to feel respect and peace towards someone who hates you, you take away their weapon. You deactivate their attack pattern. 2. Protocol 1. The golden tape technique, rewriting the script. Most people carry a black tape in their mind regarding difficult people. They have imaginary conversations with them. He's definitely going to say this. And then I'll say that. They spend hours mentally arguing, defending themselves, accusing. These mental arguments are rehearsals. You are handing the giant the script for the next fight. And the giant ensures the fight occurs exactly as you imagined it. To change the relationship, you must record a golden tape. The exercise. If you have a conflict with someone, let's call them person X, 1. Stop the war, sit in silence, stop the mental argument. 2. The courtroom scene. Imagine person X standing in front of you. But do not see them as the enemy, see them as an actor who has just finished their scene and is awaiting new instructions. 3. The new dialogue. In your imagination, hear person X say exactly what you desire to hear. If it is a critical boss, hear him say, "I value your work highly, thank you for your effort." If it is a distant partner, hear her say, "I love and respect you." If it is a debtor, hear him say, "Here is the payment." 4. The real response. You respond with gratitude and peace. Feel the reality of that interaction. Feel the relief of reconciliation. Repeat this small mental scene over and over until you feel the tension in your stomach disappears, until you can think of that person without feeling the sting of the grudge. When you achieve this, you have changed the transmission. You have sent a new signal through the invisible network. You will be surprised by the results. Often the person will call you, change their attitude, or simply stop bothering you as if a spell has been broken, because the spell was yours. 3. Protocol 2. The acid of forgiveness, mental hygiene. Here we reach a point where the king's ego rebels. Why should I do the work? They hurt me. They should apologize. Listen closely. Grudge is poison that you drink yourself, hoping the other person will die. The blind giant does not know whose grudge it is. If you feel hatred, the giant simply receives the chemical order: stress, attack, pain. And he manifests that order in your body as illness, ulcers, heart problems, and in your life as blockage. To hate someone is to chain yourself to them with steel shackles. As long as you hate someone, you are their slave. You carry them with you to bed, to the table, to work. Their energy lives in your mind, fouling your palace. Forgiveness is not a moral act of sanctity. It is not telling the other person what you did was right. Forgiveness is a selfish act of mental hygiene. It is an act of surgery to cut the tumor that binds you to the other. It is telling the giant, "This person no longer has permission to live in my mind. I fire them, I release them." The solvent technique. Do not try to strive to forgive, inverted effort. Use the technique of the dissolving blessing. Every time the thought of that person comes to your mind and you feel the sting of anger, say immediately, "I release you and I release myself." The peace of God fills your soul. I wish you health, happiness, and prosperity far away from me. Do it mechanically at first if necessary, but do it. You are using a chemical formula to neutralize the acid. If you sincerely wish well for the other, even if only out of discipline, you break the karmic bond. You stop being the negative pole of their magnet, and when there is no polarity, the attraction ceases. The person disappears from your experience. 4. Protocol 3. The king's atmosphere, social immunity. Finally, How do you avoid attracting new tyrants or energetic vampires? You must change your mental atmosphere. Your atmosphere is the sum of your habitual feelings about yourself. If your atmosphere is fear of criticism, you will attract critics. If your atmosphere is need for approval, you will attract manipulators. The king must build an atmosphere of dignity and love. You must treat yourself as you want others to treat you. The giant observes how you talk to yourself. If you tell yourself, "I'm an idiot, I always mess up," the giant says, "Understood. I will bring people who confirm you are an idiot." If you tell yourself, "I respect myself, I value myself, and I am worthy of the best," the giant says, "Understood. I will bring people who will honor you." The royal mirror exercise. Every morning, look yourself in the eyes in the physical mirror and speak to your giant and to the world through your reflection. Say, "I am worthy, I am love, I am respect. Only good comes to me, only love is permitted to enter my kingdom." Saturate your mind with the feeling of being loved and respected. Fill yourself so much with self-love that there is no space left for abuse. When your cup is full of your own recognition, you don't need to beg for anyone else's recognition. And paradoxically, when you stop begging, the world starts offering you banquets. 5. The case study, the tyrannical manager. Let me tell you a true story from Murphy's archives, adapted to our language. There was a man who worked in an office with a manager who was a despot. The manager shouted, criticized, and humiliated everyone. The man hated going to work. He spent the commute mentally rehearsing arguments, hating the manager, fearing the encounter. His life was hell. The giant was receiving the order. Daily war. The man learned the law. He understood that he was keeping the tyrant alive with his own hatred. He changed the strategy. He stopped reacting. He stopped arguing mentally. Every night before sleeping, he visualized himself in the office. He saw the manager smiling and he affirmed, "The manager is a child of God. He is at peace. I am at peace. There is harmony between us." At first his logical mind resisted. He's a monster. But he persisted with the subconscious lullaby. He did this for 2 weeks. One day he arrived at the office and the manager called him in. The man tensed up. The manager said, "I have been transferred to another division in another city. I'm leaving you in charge for now. Thank you for your patience." The tyrant disappeared. There was no fight, there was no resignation, there was a restructuring of reality. When the man changed his internal script, the universe had to move the pieces to fit. The actor who no longer served the peace script had to exit the stage. 6. The conclusion of mastery. Relationships are not a test of your patience. They are a test of your vibration. You are the center of your relational universe. If you change, they change. If you heal yourself, your relationships heal, or they peacefully dissolve. Never give the power to another to control your mood. If someone offends you and you take offense, you have become their slave. You have allowed a secondary actor to sit on the king's throne. Reclaim command. Bless everyone, because by blessing them you bless yourself. Clean the Mercury mirror until it only reflects the majesty of your own being. Chapter 9. The Gold Block. Guilt, Wealth, and the Theology of Poverty. Welcome to the Gold Block. This block is not economic. It has nothing to do with your education, your job, the global crisis, or your luck. It is a moral block. It is a theological and cultural virus that has been injected into you since childhood. 1. The giant's bodyguard, protection against evil. To understand why you are blocked, you must understand how the giant protects you. The blind giant has one primary directive: to protect the king. If the king believes in the depths of his programming that something is bad, dirty, sinful, or dangerous, the giant will do everything in his power, move heaven and earth, to keep that thing away from the king. Now review your mental file on money. What did you hear as a child? Money is the root of all evil. Rich people are bad, exploiters, unhappy. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. Poor, but honest. These phrases are not harmless. They are programming commands. You have programmed the giant with the equation: money, makan, evil, dirt, loss of love. So when you, the conscious king, say, "I want to earn $1 million, guys," the giant, your protective subconscious, hears the order and consults his file. The file says, "Money corrupts. If the king has money, he will become evil and lose the love of the tribe, family." The giant, in an act of supreme love and blind loyalty, says, "No, I must save the king from that corruption. I will keep money away from him. And so the giant sabotages your businesses. He makes you forget to pay a bill. He makes you get sick right before a big opportunity. He makes you spend what you earn on absurd emergencies. It's not bad luck. It is your inner bodyguard saving you from what you told him was poison. As long as you subconsciously associate poverty with virtue and wealth with guilt, the giant will keep you virtuous, i.e., broke. 2. Poverty is a mental illness. Joseph Murphy was radical about this, and so will we be. Poverty is not a virtue, it is a disease of the mind. It is a restriction of the flow of life. The impulse of life is expansion, growth, and abundance. A plant does not try to grow just enough. It tries to grow to its maximum. You are the same. You desire money not out of greed, but because money is the tool of expansion on this plane. You need it to travel, to study, to help others, to eat well, to have beauty around you. To desire wealth is to desire more life. And to desire more life is the impulse of God within you. To condemn money is to condemn life itself. If you feel guilty for wanting money, you are at war with your own expansive nature. You are blocking the blood flow of the social body. 3. Money is innocent. The king must re-educate the giant. He must teach him the truth about gold. Money is neutral. It is innocent. Money is nothing more than a symbol of exchange. It is energy frozen in paper or digits. Money is like water. Water can quench the thirst of a parched town. Water can drown a child. Is the water bad? No. The water is water. It depends on who uses it. If you are a good, generous, and loving person, money will only amplify your goodness, your generosity, and your love. Money is a megaphone for who you already are. If you are a tyrant, money will make you a louder tyrant. Stop blaming the megaphone for what the person is shouting. You must convince your giant that money in your hands is a blessing to the world. 4. The trap of envy and criticism. Here is another subtle mechanism that locks the vault. How do you react when you see someone very rich, when you see a luxury car pass by, when you see someone who has had unjust success? If your reaction is criticism, they must have stolen it. How pretentious, those rich people. You have just signed your poverty sentence. The law is exact. You cannot attract what you criticize. If you criticize someone else's wealth, you are telling the giant, wealth is something despicable. And the giant replies, understood. I will ensure you are never despicable. I will keep you far from wealth. Envy is the strongest padlock on poverty. To unlock the gold, you must learn to do the opposite. You must learn to bless the wealth of others. When you see someone prosperous, rejoice. Feel a spark of pleasure. Tell your giant, look at that, that is abundance, I like it. That is what I want for myself. I bless that person and their prosperity. By blessing the wealth of the other, you are validating wealth in your own mental map. You are telling the giant, this is good, bring it home. You must clean the reputation of money in your own mental court. You must stop treating gold like a criminal and start treating it like an ambassador of divine life. If you manage to convince your giant that money is condensed spiritual energy, the giant will stop blocking it and begin to attract it with the force of a planetary magnet. We enter the protocols of conscious wealth. 1. The Gold Baptism Protocol. Money is neutral energy. It is a vibrational blank check. It takes the color of the hand that holds it. If you touch it with fear, it becomes elusive. If you touch it with greed, it becomes volatile. If you touch it with guilt, it becomes heavy. But if you touch it with blessing, it becomes sacred. The first step to unlocking the flow is to baptize your money. This is not a metaphor. It is a practical exercise you must perform physically. Take a bill from your wallet, or open your banking app and look at the balance, whatever it is. Look at it. Feel your body's automatic reaction. Is there contraction? Is there a sigh of, it's not enough? That is the old programming speaking. Now you're going to change the label. Tell your giant, this is not paper. These are not numbers. This is the energy of God in circulation. This is divine life made visible. It is the symbol of freedom and expansion. It is innocent. It is good. It is very good. By declaring that money is good and divine, you are eliminating the moral conflict. You are lowering the drawbridge. The giant listens. The king has declared this substance safe and desirable. Open the floodgates. You must do this every day. Every time you touch money, bless it. Mentally cleanse it of all the collective negativity it has absorbed. Make your money happy to be with you. 2. The multiplication technique, the alchemy of spending. Here we reach the point of greatest friction for the average human, the moment of paying. Observe your mind when you have to pay rent, electricity, or dinner. What do you feel? Most feel a pang, a little pain, a contraction in the stomach, a fleeting thought of, it's leaving. I have less than before. That little pain is the killer of abundance. That contraction is a direct order to the giant that says, provision is limited. We are losing life. Close the flow so we don't die. Paying with pain is the surest way to guarantee future poverty. It is sowing seeds of scarcity in the very act of using money. To the king, paying is not losing. Paying is circulating. And the law of circulation says that what you give returns. But it only returns if it is given with the right attitude. You must apply the multiplication technique every time a penny leaves your pocket. The protocol. When you hand over the money or click pay, stop the fear. Inhale. And mentally, as the money leaves your hand, imprint this secret command. I bless you and release you. You go out from me to bless the world, to pay salaries, to feed families. Fulfill your mission, and return to me multiplied by 1,000 under grace and in a perfect way. Visualize the money not as something that disappears, but as a seed you are sowing in the fertile field of the divine economy. You are not spending, you are investing in the law of return. Feel the joy of being able to pay. The fact that you have money to pay that bill is a miracle. Celebrate it. If you pay with gratitude and the certainty of return, the giant registers the transaction not as a loss, but as a flow opening, and he will mathematically ensure the equation balances by bringing more. 3. The invisible source, cutting dependency. Another great mistake of the lame king is confusing the channel with the source. You believe your source of money is your job, your boss, your clients, or the government. That is a lie. Those are only channels. They are pipes. The source is your own consciousness. The source is the giant connected to the infinite intelligence. If you believe your job is your source, you become a slave to the job. You are afraid of losing it. That dependency generates fear, and fear contracts the flow. If a channel closes, you are fired, a client leaves. The king does not panic. The king knows the source is internal and eternal. If a pipe breaks, the source will simply create another new and better pipe. The divine partner exercise. Joseph Murphy suggested a powerful technique for business and finance, taking the divine as a partner. Sit on your mental throne and declare, infinite intelligence is my principal partner. It directs my business. It attracts clients. It manages investments. I am only the executive channel. Wealth flows through me, not from me. This attitude of detachment and trust eliminates the anxiety of I have to do it all myself. It relaxes the king. And when the king relaxes, the giant can work at maximum power, bringing ideas and opportunities that the stressed mind would never see. 4. The liturgy of wealth, the feeling of prosperity. Finally, we must address the base frequency. Murphy said, the feeling of wealth produces wealth, the feeling of health produces health. This is the chicken or the egg trap. You say, I will feel rich when I have money. The giant says, you will have money when you feel rich. Someone has to yield first, and matter is slow, the mind is fast, you must yield, you must feel it first. But how do you feel rich when bills are piling up? You don't need to deceive yourself by looking at your balance. You need to connect with the sensation of the infinite reserve. The Royal Treasury exercise. Close your eyes. Forget your earthly bank for a moment. Imagine you have access to the treasury of the universe. Imagine an ocean of gold, of resources, of light. Do not try to grab it. Just immerse yourself in the sensation that there is enough. There is more than enough. Repeat the word, wealth. Do not say it with greed. Say it with admiration. Say it as if you were savoring an exquisite dish. Wealth, success, abundance. Let the vibration of that word fill your body. Feel your cells relax. Feel the contraction of poverty dissolve into the expansion of the word. Do this 5 minutes every night. You are tuning your mental radio. If you manage to capture the mood of prosperity, even for a few minutes a day, you have changed your magnetic destiny. The giant will start moving the world to justify that mood. Summary of the Golden Protocol. Bless your money, never curse it. Never criticize the money of others. What you bless multiplies. Pay with joy. Transform spending into circulation. Decree the multiplied return. Acknowledge the source. Your security is not in your job, but in your connection with the giant. Feel the wealth. Use the word wealth as a lullaby to saturate your mind with that frequency. Chapter 10. Forgiveness as a dissolving acid. The physics of resentment and mental hygiene. The 10th law of the mind is the law of liberation. You cannot build a new future while your hands are busy holding the coffins of the past. Welcome to the final protocol. Welcome to forgiveness as a dissolving acid. And let me warn you, this is not a chapter on morality. We are not going to talk about being good or saints. We are going to talk about fluid mechanics. We are going to talk about survival. 1. The anatomy of resentment. The self-administered poison. The lame king, in his ignorance, believes that resentment is a weapon. He believes that by hating the one who hurt him, he is punishing the aggressor. He believes that his anger is a shield of justice. But the blind giant does not know who the aggressor is. The giant only feels what is happening inside the castle. When you feel resentment, bitterness, or hatred towards someone, you are generating an acidic, corrosive chemistry. You are producing cortisol, adrenaline, and stress toxins in industrial quantities. You are flooding your own system with poison. The famous phrase says it best: resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. To the giant, resentment is an order for self-destruction. You think, I hate my ex-partner for what they did to me. The giant feels the vibration of hatred and pain. The giant translates, the king wants pain, the king wants conflict, the king wants stress. And faithfully, the giant manifests ulcers in your stomach, blockages in your heart, and attracts more people who treat you poorly. Your lack of forgiveness does not bother your enemy one bit. He is happy, sleeping soundly. But it is killing you. It is stealing the vital energy you need to create your empire. Resentment is an energetic vampire that lives in your basement and feeds on your future. 2. Forgiveness is not a moral act, it's a selfish act. We must redefine forgiveness. Remove the religious load, remove the load of being a good person. Forgiveness is, in its purest essence, an act of intelligent selfishness. It is an act of mental hygiene. Forgiving does not mean saying what you did was okay. Forgiving does not mean I want to be your friend again. Forgiving does not mean I forget what happened and let you hurt me again. That is stupidity, not forgiveness. Forgiving means simply and plainly, I refuse to keep carrying your trash. It means I release you from my mind so you stop fouling my vibration. I let you go so that I can be free. The king forgives because his energy is too valuable to be wasted on the past. The king forgives because he knows he cannot fly if he carries stones in his pockets. Forgiveness is cutting the rope that ties you to the corpse of an old wound. It is dropping the dead weight so you can ascend. 3. The blockage of manifestation. Joseph Murphy was emphatic. If your prayers are not answered, search your heart for any hidden resentment. Resentment is an insulator. It cuts off the flow of the divine current. Imagine a water hose. Water flows strongly, your creative power. Resentment is like stepping on the hose. The flow stops. No matter how much you turn on the faucet, how much you visualize, the water doesn't come out. Only when you lift your foot, forgive, does the water flow again. Many spiritual seekers do their perfect visualizations, but hate their parents, criticize their bosses, or despise themselves. And they wonder why the law doesn't work. The law works perfectly. It is manifesting their hatred in the form of stagnation. You cannot have a heart full of love for your dream and full of hatred for your past at the same time. The lowest vibration always dominates. 4. The dissolving acid, the technique. So how do you forgive the unforgivable? How do you release the pain when the wound is deep? It is not done with willpower. You cannot force yourself to feel love for your enemy overnight. It is done with a mental chemical formula. It is done with the dissolving acid of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a mental technique that dissolves the emotional knot. You don't need to feel it at first, you just need to do it. It is like cleaning a difficult stain. You apply the solvent, the affirmation of forgiveness, and rub, repetition. At first, the stain remains, but if you keep applying the solvent, the chemistry does its job, and the stain disappears. Now we enter the laboratory to apply the cure. We are not going to use morality. We are not going to use should, we are going to use mental chemistry. I will give you the protocol of radical dissolution. It is a precise, cold, and effective technique to neutralize the emotional charge of any memory, person, or event that is stealing your energy. This protocol is divided into two phases: the liberation of the other and the liberation of the self. Phase 1, the liberation of the other, the blessed acid technique. How do you forgive someone who betrayed you, robbed you, or humiliated you? The logical mind of the lame king shouts, "They don't deserve it. If I forgive them, they win." You must silence that voice. Forgiveness is not about them, it is about you. It is about cleaning your manifestation conduit. Remember the law of the Mercury mirror, Chapter 8. What you wish for another, you are decreeing for yourself, because in the single mind there are no others. If you wish punishment for your enemy, you are ordering punishment. The giant hears punishment and applies it to you. If you wish scarcity for the one who stole from you, you are ordering scarcity, and the giant impoverishes you. To free yourself, you must do the unthinkable. You must wish them well. Not because you love them, but because it is the only chemical way to neutralize the poison in your own system. The dissolution ritual. Sit in your quiet place. Calm your body. Bring the person you find hardest to forgive to your mind screen. Look at them. Feel the pang in your stomach. That pang is the emotional tumor that is blocking you. Now you are going to apply the dissolving acid. Repeat this master formula, based on Murphy's teachings, slowly and deliberately. I release you completely and let you go. I release you to the infinite intelligence. I decree that the peace, harmony, health, and abundance of the universe fill your life. You are free, and I am free. Every time your memory comes to my mind, I will bless you again and say, peace be with you. The matter is closed. The contract is broken. We are at peace. Let's analyze the chemistry of this formula. By wishing them peace, health, and abundance, you are forcing your mind to vibrate at the frequency of peace, health, and abundance. You cannot give what you do not have. To wish them well, you have to generate good within yourself first. By generating that vibration, you clean your own system. The acid of hatred is neutralized by the alkaline base of the blessing. The fire test. At first you will say these words through clenched teeth. You will feel resistance, it does not matter. Do it mechanically. The giant obeys repetition. Keep doing it. Every time hatred arises, apply the acid. I wish you peace. A day will come, perhaps in a week, perhaps in a month, when the miracle will occur. You will think of that person and feel nothing, neither love nor hatred, just neutral indifference. The wound will have scarred. It will no longer hurt to touch it. At that moment, the concrete block will have dissolved. The energy you spent on hating, which is enormous, will return to you, available to be used in your creation. Phase 2, the liberation of the self, the king's absolution. Now we face the final enemy, the cruelest, most ruthless, and hardest to defeat, yourself. Most people are capable of forgiving others, but they maintain a torture chamber in their own mind for themselves. Guilt, the regret for past mistakes. I should have done this. I ruined my life. I'm a bad person. Guilt is the cancer of manifestation. Guilt is a permanent order that says, I do not deserve, I deserve punishment. And the giant, faithful to that order, will ensure you never achieve total success. If you earn money, he will make you lose it. If you find love, he will make you sabotage it, because the giant believes you are serving a sentence. You must understand a biological and spiritual truth. The person who committed that mistake in the past no longer exists, literally. Your cells renew, your mind changes, your consciousness expands. The you of 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago is dead. It was a different state of consciousness, with less information, with fewer tools. Blaming your present self for what your past self did is as unfair as blaming a child for not knowing calculus. The God who does not judge. Your subconscious and the infinite intelligence behind it does not judge you. Electricity does not judge whether you use it to light a hospital or to electrocute someone. It simply flows. The principle of life holds no grudge. If you cut your finger out of clumsiness, life does not say, you deserve it, I won't heal you. No. Life begins to heal the wound instantly. The universe is always trying to heal you, enrich you, love you. The only one opposing it is you with your guilt. The ritual of self-absolution. To free the giant from the order of punishment, you must forgive yourself with the same formality with which a king pardons a prisoner. Stand in front of a mirror. Look yourself in the eyes. This is difficult but necessary. Call yourself by name and say, "Your name, I forgive you. I forgive your mistakes, your fears, and your ignorance. You did the best you could with what you knew then. That past is dead and buried. I will not allow a ghost to govern my present. I declare myself innocent. I declare myself worthy. I declare myself free. I accept myself as I am, and I love myself." Feel how the words penetrate. Guilt seeks punishment. Love seeks expression. By declaring yourself innocent, you remove the chains from the giant. You tell him, "The sentence has been served. Now you are free to build paradise." 3. The state of flow, frictionless machinery. When you have forgiven others and forgiven yourself, something extraordinary happens in your mental architecture. Friction disappears. Imagine an engine that has been running with sand in the gears, resentment, noise, heat, wear, slowness. Now imagine that same engine clean and lubricated with high-quality oil, inner peace. It runs silently. It runs at maximum power. It runs effortlessly. That is a mind that has forgiven. Your manifestations accelerate. Why? Because there are no more counter-orders. There is no "I want wealth" fighting against "I deserve punishment." There is a free path. The king gives the order, and the giant executes it at the speed of thought. 4. The daily practice, the mental shower. Do not wait for a major trauma to forgive. Make forgiveness your daily hygiene, just as you shower to wash away sweat. Every night before entering the night shift, Chapter 4, do a quick sweep. Has anyone bothered me today? Have I criticized myself today? Apply the acid. I forgive them. I forgive myself. I go to sleep in peace. Enter sleep clean. A clean mind is a perfect conductor for divine power. You began this journey as a lame king, trapped on the small island of your logic, shouting orders at a void that did not respond. You lived in fear of your own power, believing the blind giant was a capricious enemy or a cruel destiny. But now the veils have fallen. You have learned the physics of the mind. You know that cold thought is sterile and that only the fire of emotion can fuse reality. You have mastered the command protocols. You know that willpower is a quicksand trap and that true authority is exercised through seduction and the subconscious lullaby. You have entered the night shift, turning your sleep into a factory of miracles. You have learned to speak with the sovereign decree, "I am," and to project the movie of your victory in the mental cinema. And you have cleaned the kingdom. You have baptized your money and dissolved the rust of resentment with the acid of forgiveness. Now you face the last door, the door of surrender. The human ego is terrified of surrendering. It believes surrendering is losing. It believes it is weakness. But in the metaphysics of power, surrender is the supreme act of strength. Surrender is not giving up your desire. It is giving up the struggle. It is the moment when the king, having given the clear and heartfelt command, leans back on his throne and releases control. It is the moment you say, "Giant, I know you have heard me. I know you are faithful. I know you are omnipotent. I no longer need to push. I leave you to do your work." This absolute trust is the highest vibration that exists. It is peace. When you surrender, friction disappears, anxiety evaporates, and the energy you once spent on worrying now flows freely into creation. You are no longer a king separate from his giant. Now you are one. The king provides the vision. The giant provides the force. You walk, and the universe moves the ground beneath your feet to meet you. You speak, and reality reorganizes itself to prove you right. Your life ceases to be a battle and becomes a dance. You no longer chase miracles. You become the space where they occur. Your question each morning is no longer, "How will I survive?" but "What wonder shall we create today?" If this manual has returned your crown and taught you to love your giant, we invite you to seal this pact. Subscribe to our channel, Path of Knowledge, to continue discovering the secrets of your inner power. Like this video as your final decree of authority. Share this knowledge with someone who needs to awaken their own giant. Thank you for your time, for your discipline, and for the brave decision to reclaim your throne. The giant is ready. The order has been given. The kingdom is yours.